And again, we're doing things a little bit backwards to our usual. So we're over here to Hive 1 now. I'm going to try not to use my Hive tool much in this hive. I didn't bring anything out to clean it, and you do want to make sure that your Hive tool is cleaned in between each hive, and that just avoids, I talked a little bit earlier about some of the bacteria and funguses that can affect a hive. You want to diminish the chance of taking some of those from one hive to the other. So I'm going to try to leave this to the side. And these guys are my more docile bees, so I feel pretty comfortable doing so. You probably noticed the bottom feeder on the other one. I said that I didn't really like that style because the bees drown in it. We actually went through and filled it with small rocks for them to get footing, which has worked really well. And this one, it turned out, because we're on a small incline there, has been leaking right into the roof, which hasn't seemed to cause a problem. There's just an area up top here that you'll see in a moment where it kind of pools. So I tend to place the feeder here, and it's been kind of running into this back corner because of the hill we're on. Not to be done about it. It doesn't look like the bees are going after it in a way that's that they're drowning, which is good. These guys, I can see, are now using comb to pin the tops of their frames. And again, I'm going to go back with this just so they're not sort of hit with the sugar syrup. Leave that there. So we've got a little bit of wax up top here. They've been sort of gluing that up. Now these guys, I talked a lot last week about the fact that they hadn't filled out 80% of their frame. And I switched some of the frames around a little bit to see how that might spark them. It looks like, good Lord. I can't tell if this frame is a little warped where it sits, but they've created some odd shapes with their wax to sort of fill in the space that they had. This is almost completely filled with honey. Oh, the areas that are filled up top. Look at there. That is the stuff right there. And once it's filled, they'll cap it to save it. But they've also built sort of what looks like tunnels, which I'll have to deal with around and through some of those cells. But that's a great sign. Great sign. I see a great deal of wax. So these guys, depending on how the other side is filled out, may be ready for a second super. So they can continue expanding without getting too crowded. I wish I could bring you over here, because every once in a while the bees line up right at the top of the frames and just kind of look up at you like, yo, I wish you would. I wish you would. You can see it sort of all right here. It's what I think every time I'm looking down on the hives like this. And yet they've only stung me once or twice in about 3 months. So I don't think that's what they're thinking. Here we've got some Well, we're just about completely covered with wax on this side. This was one of the frames that I moved in last week to try to engage them a little bit more. I can actually see eggs completely over this side. A cell or two of capped honey, and the rest of that is nectar. And around the sides I can see some pollen. Get a good look there. So it is looking like these guys are going to be ready for another frame, which I'm probably going to have to put on a little later in the day today. As these guys are starting to get established, I'm starting to notice that they also are really starting to pin down. Oh boy. Apparently they've been established for a little bit, as we do have a couple of supersedure cells here. They don't look like they have eggs in them, which is good. But they've built them sort of in between. And you can see right there that sort of mountainous part. They're larger cells, and they've got holes in the bottom where the queen would be born out of. So we are actually going to, without my hive tool, just give these a little pull. Let's not make that guy too angry at me. So that's it. Those large orbs with the holes in the bottom. When you see that, it's bad news. And that pretty clearly means that these guys are ready to start expanding, that they are running out of space, which makes sense because there is a full frame of brood here. We've got drones like this guy here, who are a great deal bigger than the bees around them. And we're really getting into the middle of the hive right now, into the brood frames. Again, this is a frame that came from hive number 2. You can tell by the darker wax. I can see some pollen in here. I can see some larvae sort of around the upper and lower edges, along the sides as well. Good looking frame there, and largely the same on the other side. I see pollen and nectar. I see a lot of capped brood, so these guys are getting ready to start blowing up. Damn it, and I see another supersedure cell.
I was just about to ask about the ones on the bottom, on the other side.
Oh, that is absolutely a supersedure cell. As I had said, they kind of grow them off the bottom, and that is just sort of your classic supersedure cell. So Chris Burnell, your questions about swarming were expertly timed, and thank you that we had an opportunity to talk about that before breaking into the hive today. I think that if people watched that first, it would probably be very informative for what we're doing today. And again, there's a fair bit of nectar on that, but also, boy, several supersedure cells here. Which we can just pinch right out. Let's make sure we got them all. And it looks like we did. We're going to put this one back. All right, and like I said, as I'm going through this, also trying to just put eyes on my queen. I see a lot of pollen in here, which is a little unusual for the middle frames. See, I see eggs, which means the queen has probably been through here recently. I don't see her yellow dot. We have another one of those very big drones right here at the end of my finger, and another one right here. I've been seeing them going back and forth, out doing mating flights, and queens go out and do mating flights to try to mix up the genetics of the hive, and so that there is sort of genetic material and qualities from outside of her hive. Let's see. Oh, as I had thought, my queen is here on the other side of this frame. I'm imagining that there are eggs, or will be shortly, but the queen is right up here with that yellow dot on her. I am absolutely crap at spotting my queen in the other hive, but this one, obviously, much easier with that little yellow dot there. I can see another bee being born. Welcome to the hive, little lady. And that is happening, let's see, there may be somebody standing over her, but yep, right in here. You can see the head and the antennas out. Push, push. All right. Up, and yet another supersedure cell. So despite the fact that we have a very viable queen, these guys are obviously starting to feel crowded. And largely I'm going to run through these with you guys. We're going to make sure that they have in fact filled out the 80%, and that they haven't just sort of staggered it to one side. Great frame of brood over here. I can see larvae of several ages. No eggs on this side, but we can see a lot of capped brood. And very similar on this side with the corners capped with honey, which is fantastic. And just looking down from the top, because they're built out to the wall on the other side, I can tell that they have done at least 80%, if not more. So let's lift these and make sure there are no supersedure cells on here. I see a lot of larvae. And eggs, which is great. Lots of larvae and eggs on this side as well. And finally, we are down to the last frame, and it's a heavy one. There's some large honey cells up here. Capped brood, larvae through it. And on the other side, very much the same. I've got capped brood, got larvae. No eggs down the bottom, but honey up the top of both sides. Last frame and this frame, I didn't see any supersedure cells, but because I did see a number of them through the hive, I am going to have to get out here and put another box, much like the other hive, of just space for them to fill out and feel like they're not too crowded. And I'm gonna pull these back into their spaces. We're gonna get the top back on. Should have looked before I put my hand on that corner. No stings though. You kind of very slowly, except where they've built a comb up here. Seems to be like a speed bump. Somebody headbutt my hand. They're letting me know it's time to wrap it up. There we go. And I put it on backwards. I'm going to try to very quickly spin it. And this side is here, it's generally covered up by the external roof. And it's there for a little bit of air circulation through the hive because this hive had not been established previous to getting here. I was trying to kind of negate a lot of their opportunities for other hives to come in and rob them, which is a thing that happens. It's also a major way that the illnesses and bacteria are spread. I'm going to make sure this goes on nice and easy. But now that they are getting ready to expand a little bit into a new super, I am probably going to take the feeder off, try to find another area for that. Other than inside the hive, like I did with the other one, probably put it out here towards the opening. And when I see you guys next week, this second super will be filled with frames, and hopefully we'll see some growth. Thanks for joining us.